You're too safe. I need someone who actually lives. She found her someone. Turns out he lived so freely he couldn't afford electricity. She found out safe guys own homes. Free spirits borrow phone charges. Welcome to Reddit Family Secrets. Please hit the subscribe button, like and drop your comment. Now buckle up. I'm Marcus, 34, from Nashville, Tennessee. Civil infrastructure consultant. I know, thrilling stuff, but it pays exceptionally well. And after 11 years of building a career from the ground up, I'm proud of what it represents. Started fresh out of college making $48,000 a year doing utility mapping for the county. Now I lead a team managing commercial development contracts across the Southeast. The salary jump was significant, and unlike a lot of guys I went to college with, I didn't celebrate by leasing a sports car I couldn't afford. 5 years ago, I bought a 3-bedroom Craftsman on a quiet street in East Nashville. It needed peeling trim, a dated kitchen, original single-pane windows from 1991. I got it under market because of the condition. Spent the better part of 2 years slowly renovating it myself, learning as I went, rewired the kitchen, replaced all the windows, refinished the original hardwood floors, rebuilt the front porch from scratch with my dad's guidance and a lot of YouTube tutorials. The house is mine. No roommates, no drama. Just me, my rescue dog Hank, a 5-year-old beagle mix with one floppy ear who acts like every walk is his first. My weekends looked like this. Saturday morning trails with Hank, afternoons on whatever house project was in progress, Friday nights with my college friends, guys like my best friend Donnell, who worked in real estate and knew how to tell it straight. Normal life. Predictable life. Apparently, the wrong kind of life. Her name was Simone. 27, worked as a social media coordinator for a boutique PR firm downtown. We met at a rooftop birthday party in the summer, 3 years before all this unraveled. Her laugh was contagious, and we ended up talking until everyone else had left. Traded numbers. By our third date, she was staying over. For the first year, things were great. We had our rhythms, Tuesday dinners at this tiny Vietnamese place on Belmont, hiking Percy Warner Park on Sundays, lazy Saturday mornings reading in bed. She'd fold herself onto my couch and let Hank drape across her legs, claiming she wasn't a dog person, even as she slipped him treats when she thought I wasn't watching. But somewhere in year 2, little cracks started showing. Subtle at first. Her friend group was a rotating cast of musicians, artists, and entrepreneurs who mostly meant they had a concept but no income. She'd come home from girls' nights buzzing about how spontaneous someone's boyfriend was, how he'd surprised her friend with a last-minute trip to Sedona, how he lived by his feelings, how there was no ceiling on him. I didn't see it as a warning. I thought she was just venting her wanderlust. I'd suggest we plan a real trip, book flights to Costa Rica, do it properly. She'd get distant. That's not what I mean, she'd say. I still didn't get it. The comments escalated. Don't you ever just want to be reckless? Everything with you is so mapped out. Once, after I declined a last-minute road trip to Memphis because I had a site inspection at 7 a.m. Monday, she looked at me with this hollow disappointment and said, "You're going to plan your whole life away, Marcus." I thought that was an unfair reading of someone who just had a job. Turns out, she was building a case. It ended on a Wednesday in March. She came over after work and stood in my kitchen with that specific look people wear when they've rehearsed something. "I think we need to end this," she said. I put down the spatula. "Tell me why." She exhaled. "You're just so grounded. There's no spontaneity, no fire. I feel like I'm in a life I didn't choose." I asked if there was someone else. A beat too long. "There's someone I've been talking to. His name is Theo. He's a musician. He's different. Different. Right." I didn't beg. I didn't perform. I told her to get her things, and she seemed genuinely thrown by how calm I was. She lingered at the door, maybe hoping for a scene that would rewrite the story in her favor. I gave her nothing but a polite goodbye. When she left, I took Hank for a long walk, then called Donnell. "She left you for a musician." Donnell's silence was theatrical. "A musician who lives where? Exactly." "Unknown." "Marcus, you own a house. You have a 401k. You have a dog named Hank who is, objectively, a great dog." "Thank you." She is going to regret this inside of 4 months. I'm putting money on it. I didn't want to think about Simone or Theo or any of it. I just wanted to move forward. So I did. I threw myself into the sunroom addition I'd been putting off, framing, insulation, drywall, the works. Donnell came over most weekends and would work for hours, then order barbecue and watch basketball. Simple. Grounding. Exactly what I needed. The intel on Theo arrived in pieces, mostly through Donnell's girlfriend, who was still loosely connected to Simone's circle. Theo was 29, played guitar in a band called Glassweather, worked part-time at a record shop called Vinyl Revival, but had stopped showing up reliably. Had been evicted from his apartment in Germantown 7 months prior for 3 months of unpaid rent. Currently splitting a couch with his bandmate in a 2-bedroom in Anch. His music career consisted of a SoundCloud page with 48 followers and a residency at an open MIC night that paid in drink tickets. Donnell could barely contain himself. She traded a man with a mortgage for a couch ghost. I won't pretend I felt nothing hearing that. There was a private satisfaction. But more than that, I felt a kind of quiet clarity. I hadn't been wrong for being stable. I'd been with someone who didn't know yet what she actually needed. 4 months after the breakup, I ran into Simone at a farmer's market on a Saturday. She looked thinner. Her energy was clipped, like someone running low. She smiled a little too hard. "You look good," she said. "How's the house?" "Getting there," I told her. We talked for a few minutes about nothing. When I mentioned I was finishing the sunroom, something flickered across her face, something like longing. "Theo's been really busy with the band," she offered. I nodded once. "That's great." I bought my tomatoes and left. She texted 2 days later. Said she missed talking to me. Said she'd been thinking a lot. I kept my reply brief and didn't invite more. She persisted, and 3 weeks later, against the counsel of every instinct I had, I agreed to meet her for coffee. She sat across from me at a cafe on 12th Avenue, and I could see the exhaustion underneath her carefully assembled composure. She told me Theo had spent her share of the utilities on studio time, that he borrowed money from her 3 separate times and gone silent about repaying it, that she'd been carrying almost everything while he chased a dream that didn't seem to be moving. "I made a mistake," she finally said. "I confused excitement with substance. You had both, and I didn't appreciate it." I let her finish. Then I said, "I'm sorry things are hard. I mean that." Her eyes brightened. "So maybe we could—" "No," I said. Not harshly, just clearly. What we had was real. But you told me I wasn't enough, and I believed you enough to let you go. I'm not going back to being a safety net. She stared at me. I think she expected the nice guy to fold. I didn't fold. I stood up, paid for my coffee, and walked out into the Nashville sun. That was the last real conversation we had. She sent a few more texts over the following weeks. Some probing, some apologetic. One that just said, "I hope you're happy" at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. I responded to none of them after a point. Donnell handled a visit from her to his place where she apparently asked him to advocate on her behalf. He declined, diplomatically but firmly. Here's the twist nobody expected, and this is where the story gets genuinely strange. About 6 weeks after that coffee conversation, I got a call from Simone's oldest sister, Renee. We'd met a handful of times during the relationship, family dinners, a birthday party. I'd always liked her. She was practical in a way Simone hadn't yet grown into. "Marcus, I need to ask you something weird," Renee said. "Simone is in a rough spot. Theo is gone. He just evaporated, took her guitar he'd been borrowing and left a note that said he needed space. She can't cover her rent. She asked me if I thought you'd let her stay in your spare room temporarily." I sat very still. "She asked you to call me about this." She was too embarrassed to call herself. I thought about it for a moment. I thought about who I was. About whether saying yes made me a good person or just a predictable one who hadn't learned anything. "Tell her I hope she finds a solution," I said carefully. "Tell her she should call your parents. But I can't be the answer to a problem she created. That wouldn't be fair to either of us." Renee was quiet for a second. "That's fair," she said. "I'll tell her." What happened next? I found out through Donnell. Simone moved in with her parents in Clarksville for 3 months. Theo had, in fact, taken a guitar he'd borrowed and also a cast-iron skillet she'd gifted him. The band dissolved. He moved to Austin claiming a fresh start. No forwarding details. In the meantime, I met someone named Jordan. She was a structural engineer at a firm that partnered with mine on a mixed-use development outside Brentwood. We kept running into each other in project meetings, and I noticed that she prepared more thoroughly than anyone else in the room, pushed back on bad ideas with data rather than ego, and had a genuinely dry sense of humor about the absurdity of commercial real estate. We got coffee after a particularly long coordination meeting. 3 hours later, we were still talking. Jordan owned her own condo in Germantown, had a deliberate savings plan, a business she was quietly building on the side, and a healthy skepticism of drama. She'd had her own version of my story, a long relationship with someone who called her too predictable before disappearing into a series of exciting bad decisions. When I told her what Simone had said about me, she gave me a long look and said, "She told you stability was a flaw. That's like someone telling you your foundation is too strong." We've been together 14 months now. Last spring, I finished the sunroom. We hosted Danelle and his wife for dinner out there. Lights strung from the rafters. Hank curled under the table waiting for someone to drop a piece of bread. Jordan looked around the room I'd built with my own hands and said, "This is exactly the kind of place I want to be." Simple words. They landed. I heard through a mutual connection that Simone is doing better. She's back in Nashville, working a better job, apparently dating someone who works in hospital administration. Stable, reportedly. Grounded. I'm glad for her. I mean that without any edge to it. Theo's SoundCloud page still has 48 followers. The most recent upload is from 14 months ago. Some dreams just need a couch to land on. As for me, I'm the boring one, the stable one, the guy who plans. And standing in the sunroom I built, with a dog who adores me, a partner who sees all of it as a feature and not a flaw, I think boring is the most underrated thing in the world.